The question, puts or calls, may seem obvious, but actually the notion of a put or a call really has a lot to do with the perspective of the investor. So let's go through this thought process. What's CSKT? Well, that's the price of a call. It's a call on S. At time T, we can buy the stock and pay K dollars. That's what it is. It denotes the price of a call where we have the right to buy, the option, to buy S for K dollars. When we will exercise it when ST, the price of the stock, is bigger than K. We can also think of this symbol, C, as the price of an option to exchange. Instead of using the word buy, let's use the word exchange. We're exchanging K dollars for the stock. When will we make that exchange? When the stock is more valuable than the K dollars. Taking it a step further, once we go from purchase to exchange, we can now reverse the exchange and say that it's actually the price of a put on K dollars. Instead of us thinking that what we're doing is buying S for K dollars, we can think of this as we're selling K dollars for S. And we're going to exercise when K is less than S. So we can think of puts and calls as really the same, where we simply interchange what's being purchased and what's being paid. So a call on S with the price of K is the same as a put on K with the price of S. In other words, they're both exchange options. We're simply exchanging one for the other. So let's do an example in currencies. This notion of puts being the same as calls can be thought through in a currency example, and you see this all the time. If an American goes to Europe and buys euro, it's clear to that American that when they exchange dollars for euro, when they go, they're buying euro, and when they come back, they're selling euro. But if you think about it from the broker's perspective, the broker doesn't really know whether they're buying or selling dollars or euro. The broker just knows that when you leave, you're exchanging dollars and euro one way, and when you come back, you're exchanging euros and dollars the other. So brokers don't have a sense of buying and selling. They're exchanging currencies. We, as tourists, always think that we're buying and selling currencies because we have a well-defined base currency. So here we're going to do an example of puts and calls on currencies where, again, this notion that they're the same, but in the subtle case of currencies, we have to make a couple of adjustments. And the adjustments has to do with what is the base currency of the price of the call and the put. So let's think this through as an example. Let's say that S, we want to buy, so C is going to be a call on €1, and it has a strike price of $1.25 in US dollars. So we have the right, the option, to buy a euro for $1.25 at some time in the future. So this is the same as a put. We can just interchange K and S. That's what we saw in the previous slide. We can interchange. So the option to buy a euro for K is the same as the option to sell K for a euro. So if we write this out, this is the option to sell $1.25 for €1. But that's just not a standard contract. It is true that a call on euro for a price of K is the same as the price of K, or a put on K for the price of euro, for €1. But the problem is that's not how puts on dollars are sold, are quoted. A put on dollars would be a put on $1. So what we need to do is, instead of expressing this put as a put on $1.25 for €1, we want to express it as a put on $1 for 80.8 euro. So that's what we're doing, is simply saying the contract, a put on $1.25 for €1 wouldn't be an appropriate quote. Typically, a put on dollars would be a put on $1. So we're simply saying that here, a put on $1.25 for €1 is the same as a 1 1/4 puts on $1, and the strike, instead of being €1, is 0.8 euro. So this equation simply, it's really no different than the C and the P, but it creates the units that would be appropriate in the respective markets. So we have our call on €1 and we have our put on $1. And we need this multiplier, which, as you can see, is 1 over K. Now, are these going to be the same? Well, they can't be. We have a currency problem. What currency will the call be usually quoted in? Typically, a call on euro with a strike of dollars is going to be quoted in dollars. If you buy a call on euro where you're going to pay dollars for the strike, that's going to be quoted in dollars. Now look at the right-hand side. This is a put on dollars where you're going to pay euro. The right hand is going to be a contract that's actually quoted in euro. So these cannot be the same. Intuitively, they're similar contracts in that that one will exercise each when the other is exercised. But we have a currency problem in that the call is quoted in dollars and the put is quoted in euro. So we need one further adjustment, and that adjustment is to convert the put price quoted in euro back to a dollar price. And that's what we have here. X0 is the price of the dollar price of a euro. So if we, in the case where P was the price of this put, but it was priced in euro, if we multiply it by X0, which is the price of a euro in dollars, now both sides of this equation are quoted in dollars. So, namely, the dollar is the currency of K. So it gets a little bit complicated. This notion of puts and calls does get a little bit complicated when you're dealing with currency. You need to think through. We had to make an adjustment for the respective markets that a call would be on €1, a put would be on $1. So we need to adjust that. And then the second thing we need to adjust is the currency. The currency of the call is dollars, the currency of the put's euro. So we need this additional adjustment factor here. And then we get this final equation that we can express a call on euro in terms of a put on dollars, but we need a couple of adjustments.